Hello, Christ is in our midst. I'm Father Kevin Long of St. Elias Antiochian Orthodox Church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Today's Wednesday, March 11th, 2026, and here are the readings for today. A reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 7, verses 6 through 9. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him went into the ark to escape the waters of the flood, of clean animals and of the animals that are not clean, and of birds and everything that creeps on the ground. 2 and 2, male and female, went into the ark with Noah, as God had commanded Noah. A reading from the prophecy of Isaiah, chapter 10, verses 12 through 20. When the Lord has finished all his work on Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, he will punish the arrogant boasting of the king of Assyria and his haughty pride. For he says, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I have understanding, I have removed the boundaries of peoples, and have plundered their treasures. Like a bull, I have brought down those who sat on thrones. My hand has found like a nest the wealth of the peoples, and as men gather eggs that have been forsaken, so I have gathered all the earth. And there was none that moved a wing or opened its mouth or chirped. Shall the axe vaunt itself over him who hews with it, or the saw magnify itself against him who wields it? As if a rod should wield him who lifts it, or as if a staff should lift him who is not wood. Therefore the Lord of hosts, will send a wasting sickness among his stout warriors, and under his glory a burning shall be kindled like a burning of fire. The light of Israel will become a fire, and his Holy One a flame, and it will burn and devour his thorns and briars in one day. The glory of his forest and of his fruitful land the Lord will destroy, both soul and body. And it will be as when a sick man wastes away. The remnant of the trees of his forest will be so few that a child can write them down. In that day the remnant of Israel and the survivors of the house of Jacob will no more lean upon him that smote them, but will lean upon the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. A reading from the book of Proverbs, chapter 9, verses 12 through 18. If you are wise for yourself. If you scoff, you alone will bear it. A foolish woman is noisy. She is wanton and knows no shame. She sits at the door of her house. She takes a seat on the high places of the town, calling to those who pass by, who are going straight on their way. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. And to him who is without sense, she says, stolen water is sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. But he does not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol. Genesis is brief today, almost abrupt. 6 verses, and in them the whole world changes. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters came upon the earth. The Septuagint gives us the number with a kind of solemnity, as if age itself was being noted as a witness. This man has lived long. He has seen everything his world had to offer, and now he walks into the ark. Noah entered. With his sons, his wife, his sons' wives, and the animals, clean and unclean, 2 by 2, as God had commanded Noah. That phrase again, as God has commanded. It has appeared so many times in these Genesis readings that we might be tempted to read past it. We should not. The repetition is the whole point. Noah's righteousness is not complicated. It is not the product of extraordinary spiritual gifts or unusual theological talent. It is simply obedience, sustained Unglamorous, repeated obedience. He does what God says every time. This is presented to us not as the minimum, but as the summit. The thing that sets Noah apart from a world that has comprehensively chosen otherwise. The waters are coming. The door is not yet closed. And Noah, 600 years old and faithful to the last, walks in. The prophet Isaiah turns now to Assyria, and what he has to say is bracing in its precision. God has used Assyria as an instrument of judgment against Israel. The rod of my anger, he called it earlier. Assyria was the means by which a people who would not inquire of God were brought to account. But Assyria, it turns out, did not understand its own role. It did not see itself as an instrument in anyone's hand. It saw itself as the hand. Quoting, "When the Lord has finished all his work on Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, then he will punish the speech of the arrogant heart of the king of Assyria and the boastful look in his eyes." Unquote. The Septuagint renders the king's boast with particular vividness. He catalogues the nations he has conquered, the kingdoms he has toppled, and the gods that did not save their peoples, and concludes, "My hand has found, like a nest, the wealth of the peoples." As if the whole history were simply a matter of reach, of being powerful enough, organized enough, ruthless enough to take what one wants. And then Isaiah asks the question that deflates the entire boast in a single image. Shall the axe boast over him who hews with it, or the saw magnify itself against him who wields it? The instrument imagining itself as the agent. The tool congratulating itself on the work. This is, Isaiah suggests, not merely foolish, but a specific kind of spiritual disorder. The disorder of a creature that has forgotten that it is a creature, that has mistaken the power flowing through it for power originating in it. We should be careful here not to make Assyria simply a cautionary tale about other people's arrogance. The prophetic tradition does not generally intend its warnings for someone else. The axe that forgets it is an axe is a perennial temptation, available to empires, yes, but also to institutions, to communities, to individuals who have been given genuine gifts and have slowly, almost imperceptibly, begun to attribute those gifts to themselves. Quote, "By the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I have understanding." Unquote. This is a sentence any of us might think, in quieter moments, about our own lives. The judgment that follows is not vindictive. It is structural. Again quoting, "The light of Israel will become a fire, and his Holy One a flame, and it will burn and devour his thorns and briars in one day." Unquote. What is merely human burns in the presence of what is divine. Not because God is cruel, but because dry wood and uncreated fire have a predictable relationship. The remnant that remains, the remnant of the trees of his forest, will be so few that a child can write them down. It is not a punishment for its own sake. It is what's left when everything that was merely Assyrian has been consumed, and what endures is what was always real. The prophet adds, almost as a coda, the remnant of Israel will lean on the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. To lean, not to stride confidently forward in one's own momentum, not to boast about the nests and hands and wisdom. To lean, the posture of someone who knows they need support, who has stopped pretending otherwise, who has found in that honesty not weakness, but the beginning of something genuinely strong. Proverbs 9 now gives us something we did not expect. A second feast, a second hostess, a second invitation calling from the heights of the city. On Tuesday, we heard wisdom call from the highest place. Her table set, her house built on 7 pillars, her bread and wine prepared for the simple and the uninformed. Today, the same city has another voice. Quote, "The woman Folly is loud. She is seductive and knows nothing. She too sits at the high places. She too calls to those who pass by. Whoever is simple, let him turn here." The words are almost identical to wisdom's. This is not accidental. The choice is being presented to us in Proverbs 9, and it is not between an obviously beautiful option and an obviously ugly one. It is between two voices using similar language, making similar promises, calling from similar heights. Folly does not announce herself as folly. She presents herself as an alternative to wisdom. A different kind of feast, a more interesting table. Stolen water is sweet, it says, and bread eaten in secret is more pleasant. There is an appeal here, the appeal of transgression, of the thing that feels more vivid precisely because it is forbidden, the table that seems more exciting because we were not invited to it in any straightforward way. And then the punchline, delivered with a brevity that is itself a kind of mercy. Again quoting from Proverbs, "But he does not know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of Sheol." Unquote. The guests at Folly's table do not know where they are eating. This is the particular horror of the image. Not that they chose death knowingly and paid the price, but they thought that they were simply having a more interesting dinner, and looked up too late to find where the room had been all along. The Holy Fathers understood this as the nature of all serious spiritual disorder. It rarely presents itself accurately. It presents itself as an alternative, as a liberation, as the feast wisdom was too austere to offer. And the simple, who are Folly's preferred guests, precisely as they are wisdom's, cannot always tell the difference between the two voices until they are already inside. 3 readings. Between them a single pressing question. Which door are we walking through? And do we know what is on the other side? Noah walks through the door that God holds open with his household and the animals, 2 by 2, as God commanded. He does not choose dramatically. He simply goes where he was told to go because the one who told him has proven worth trusting. Assyria walks through the door of its own magnificence and finds that the axe has a short tenure as the dominant force in the workshop. The boast turns out to be the announcement of the ending. And Proverbs places us on a street in a city where 2 voices are calling from the 2 high places, using words that sound remarkably similar, offering tables that look from the outside not entirely unlike each other. One leads to life, one leads to Sheol. And the difference Proverbs suggests is not always immediately obvious, which is precisely why the whole of the wisdom tradition exists: to train the ear, to sharpen the discernment, to help us tell, before we already inside, which feast we have been invited to and by whom. The great fast is, among other things, a training of this discernment. We fast not only from food, but from the noise that makes the two voices indistinguishable. We quiet the appetites for folly's stolen water long enough to remember what wisdom's wine actually tastes like, the bread that was prepared before the foundation of the world, at the table whose 7 pillars have not moved. Noah is inside. The door will close. The waters are rising. Come to the right feast, and come now, while there is still time to choose. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. Have a great day, and God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.